Hello, this is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is Ultramarine Blue Study, and it's a larger version of a painting I did as part of the Solo Pigment series. Actually, it was the very first painting in the Solo Pigment series, and my good friend Russ really loved that painting, and his wife wanted to buy it for him for Christmas, and I thought it would be a neat idea to do a larger version so they would have something a little bigger that he could enjoy. Of course, you run the risk with that kind of thing where maybe they don't like it as well as the original. And in that case, I just told him that, well, you're more than welcome to have the little one, since I didn't charge him anymore for the bigger version because they're good friends of mine. It's very interesting. I personally love to revisit motifs. I do it all the time. This was one of the few instances where I did it for a kind of a commission. But to me, I think every time you revisit a motif, you're a very different person. I look at paintings I did 10 years ago, and I'd be darned if I could duplicate that again. I have one that hangs up in my bathroom, and it's so soft and gauzy. And I remember how many layers and layers I did, and how many little tiny brush strokes I did to get that effect. I would never be able to do it again. So consequently, I'll never sell it. It's not that it's the world's greatest painting, but hopefully you get my point that you're not going to be the same. And that's another good reason not to get hung up on your past successes or your past failures. In fact, the great thing about the past failures is a lot of times you can get that motif up on the easel and you might win. You might win that time. So I never completely delete or destroy any of my reference images, although I definitely paint over bad paintings, because if they're bad, they're bad. Well, sometimes I can save them, and you'll see there's plenty of revisits or reimagined paintings on my channel. If you go digging around. Anyway, another interesting thing about this painting is it's ultramarine blue, which, if you know me, is like my least favorite blue. But I actually had to. I did the ultramarine blue study in the 5x7 size. And I actually gave the tube of blue to my student, one of my students, and I had to ask her for it back so that I could do this painting. So I think it would have been a better painting with ultramarine, not ultramarine, like cobalt or phthalo, both of which just are less muddy. But a lot of people love ultramarine. I'm not dissing it. And this was a good quality ultramarine I used. It was, pardon me, Winsor Newton. There is a live version of this painting, and it is in the members area. The members area has got over 100 live painting sessions, and there it's like you're a fly on the wall, basically. It's not like so much a tutorial, but I think it's very valuable in that it is real time. So while it does take a little bit of patience to get through a real-time video, if you're interested in real insights and real learning about what it is I do, try it out for a month and see what you think. It's there for you. Also, in the members area, there's some also. I just recently did a video outlining my materials that I use, and I try to. It's not that I'm keeping these things from people that are non-members. It's more that I'm really, really appreciative of the support that members are giving me, the extra support, and I'm trying to give them real value for their membership. So I just recently did a materials video. I've done another video with my palette, and I'll do the palette videos periodically because it's good to keep that up to date, since it does modify and change over time. I did actually start out painting with ultramarine blue. It didn't take me long to get away from it. I went to cobalt blue and was with cobalt blue for a while. And actually my blue of choice these days is phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is just about as pretty as cobalt, but a lot cheaper. And the thing is, I don't use a lot of blue in my painting unless I'm doing a blue painting like this. I tend not to like doing blue skies, and let's face it, that's where most of the blue would be in a painting, unless you were doing, I don't know, pictures of certain types of blue flowers or something. Yeah. A little soon in the video, actually, I'm going to be reading a little bit from the book by Edgar Payne, Composition of Outdoor Painting, just because it's a brilliant book. And not talking much about composition here, although I will say I think this is a sound composition, which is evidenced by the fact that somebody wanted to purchase it. Because nothing succeeds like success, right? If people want to buy something, it's definitely a good indicator that you struck a chord. And I have friends, but my friends don't love me so much. They just buy paintings of mine because they want to be my friend. Anyway, more thoughts on this. So the way this painting was done was ultramarine blue, titanium white, Mars black. And that was a slight change from the first version. Also, the first version had a bit of an issue, that it was like an uphill battle, in that I foolishly tinted the board with a gray that had an opaque white in it, and I had to work around that the whole time I did the painting. Here I had the board prepped and primed with a gray color, and I do recommend gray is a great undercolor for any kind of blue painting, purple painting. Actually, you can get away with gray on a lot of different colors. My normal preference, as you probably know, is like for a brown or sepia tone. Colored board, but I like gray as well, and I especially prefer gray if I'm going to be doing something like this. Yeah. So let's read a little bit from this composition of outdoor painting. Good old Edgar Payne. We're on page 16. Now, I get the impression that Edgar liked to go outdoors and paint. I like to go outdoors and take photos, and then make my paintings indoors. There's a lot of traps inherent with that, and I've harped on that endlessly on the channel. So at some point I will try to find a way to codify these things so that they're searchable. But I'm kind of a one-man band, so we have to a lot of times just repeat information for the new people that are tuning in. Okay, it's a chapter on nature. Nature must not be forgotten. The habit of continually painting outdoor motifs from imagination will eventually produce only studio pictures without the feeling of real outdoor qualities. And if I could stop right there. This is when people say, oh, do you paint these from photo reference or your imagination or what? My answer is always the same. I always start with a photo, and then I usually leave off from the photo because the photo is full of traps, But I find that if I paint strictly from the imagination, I run into the problem that Edgar Payne points out right here. You just get these totally false-looking pictures that don't have a good quality to them. Anyway, back to what Payne has to say. Nature is not in the least concerned with artistic attributes, although she has prior claim on the artist and insists that her qualities receive first attention. If she is not to be represented, she demands that she be not occasionally, but often consulted. Otherwise, there is liable to be trouble. In other words, she needs some reference of some type. Either go outdoors, like someone like Stapleton Kearns. He likes to go outdoors. He starts all his painting outdoors. Pardon me. And then he brings them into the studio in the wintertime and finishes everything, which is wise, because the problem with just straight up plein air painting, there's a lot of traps inherent with that too. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of plein air artists' work has a very samey quality to it. And my my feeling is I've done plein air work. I've done a fair amount of it. Um, my feeling is that the reason for the sameness in the plein air work of many artists is that they're forced to make the same sorts of decisions due to the time constraints that are forced on them. That said, a lot of plein air artists do amazing work. I think of one guy, he does these what would be the most boring scenes of just overcast days on a sandy beach, but he hits every color right on, and he makes some brilliant paintings, plein air. So if you are the type of person that feels like plein air is going to work for you, then do it. For me, not so much. Yeah. And that's also kind of a function of tonalism. Now, Edgar Payne's not a tonalist, but he's a great painter, you know. Um, Tonalism is really a studio practice, and what interests me. Yeah. Anyway, back to Payne. Nature always challenges the capabilities of the imagination. Her variation in line, form, color, an ever-changing mood is infinitely beyond the variations resulting purely from invention or imagination. The human mind has an enormous capacity for storing knowledge and conceiving ideas, yet it is infinitesimally small compared to nature when it comes to making suggestions for pictorial expression. Wow. He said what I said, only he said it more eloquently. This is why I use photo reference to get started. Even if I change 90% of what's in the photo reference, that 10% that's there, I wouldn't have been able to come up with on my own. And I find out just paint the same picture over and over. Yeah. Therefore, back to Payne. Therefore, the artist must conclude that while he needs to assert his artistic powers, he must also recognize and respect nature's capacity and variety, which is so much greater than his own. Though the painter may have the greatest possible talent, excellent training, and the most noble ideas or concepts, he is still dependent to a very great extent upon nature. To her he must go for ideas to be translated. He has this next sentence in bold. A pictorial representation is always a translation. And this is something I stress all the time. If you're working with photos or you're working in plein air, you can't just copy what's there. It isn't going to make a painting. You have to be inspired and moved by what's there and make a painting from that. So it's an interface between nature, you, and the universe, right? Nature suggests ideas for interpretation. The artist supplies ideas about how the interpretation is to be made. While it is important that the artist thoroughly develop his artistic powers, it is also important that he use a tremendous amount of observation, concentration, and painting to acquire sufficient knowledge of typical shapes, proportions, and other characteristics of outdoor form, line, and color. For as Whipple, I don't know who Whipple is, but apparently Payne did, for as Whipple says, nature does not capriciously scatter his secrets, his golden gifts to lazy poets and luxurious darlings, but imposes tasks when she presents opportunities. You know, the old guys really were much more eloquent than we are as moderns. Hey, it's so true. It's okay. We have, there's something to be said for brevity and communication as well. That's one good thing about being a modern. Anyway, back to Payne. We're going to finish up here. It takes years to paint the human figure well, even though models have much the same proportions and other characteristics. Form in outdoor nature has much more variation and the artist far more leeway than in figure painting. Nevertheless, outdoor form demands as much study as any other subject. A well-developed knowledge of nature is one of the most important assets in building the picture. All other faculties being equal, to know outdoor form is to be able to translate it into a fine pictorial edifice. A proper visible structure is needed to house the unseen, abstruse quality which is art. For though the eye, window of the soul, must come, for through the eye, the window of the soul, must come those visual qualities which please the sight and the mind. Wow. Thank you, Edgar. You're awesome. And thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you enjoyed watching me do this little study Like I said, there's a live blow-by-blow version in the members area. Also, I got a website. You see it scroll by there. There's a store there with some awesome paintings for sale. Maybe pick up something as a Valentine's Day present for your loved one. Anyway, I appreciate you. Thanks for joining me today. And until I come back with another video, please do me a favor. Take good care of yourself, all your loved ones. Try and be patient with other people, and stay out of trouble.